Yesterday, we finally got the Senate Judiciary Committee to talk about reducing gun violence. I offered amendments to extend criminal background checks to most private gun transactions, to gun show markets and online transactions with a permit-to-purchase system. To allow family members and law enforcement to get court orders to remove guns from people who show red flags that they are extreme risks to themselves and others. Now, some of the committee members said they were concerned about the Second Amendment. My favorite part of the Second Amendment is the part where it says, well regulated. Lots of lawful products. There's no reason we can't continue to regulate guns too. They said permits to purchase would be such a burden. Well, they would be on people who would fail the background check. They'd have wasted their time applying for the permit, but they would still have a harder time buying a gun. They said my bills wouldn't reduce gun violence. Well, unless you are among the half of women in violent relationships who will live instead of die, half of the cops who will live instead of die, half of those thinking about suicide who will live instead of die, half of potential trafficking victims who won't become victims, and half of potential mass shooting victims who will live instead of die. If Kentucky, the home of Daniel Boone, can use a permit-to-purchase system of background checks, so can Minnesota. If Republican Florida can pass an extreme risk protective order red flag bill, so can Minnesota. This isn't only about Parkland, Florida, and other school shootings. It's not just about hardening our schools, or arming our teachers, or getting counseling into those troubled students. It's also about the 38,000 gun deaths in the United States every year. It's about the 62% of gun deaths by suicide in Minnesota every year. It's about the almost 30,000 gun sales blocked by background checks in Minnesota in the last 20 years. The public supports these proposals. In a Star Tribune poll a few years ago, 82% of Minnesota residents, including 74% of Minnesota gun owners and a majority of NRA members, support requiring criminal background checks for all gun sales. And the NRA supports red flag laws. The same red flag laws that we have right now for orders for protection and harassment restraining orders in terms of due process, we have in the bill that I offered yesterday in the Judiciary Committee. The same due process. If it's good enough to protect women who are facing violent situations at home, it's good enough to protect gun owners when we need to protect the people around them or themselves from the use of those guns. legislature needs to support red flag laws. And now, the legislature needs to support criminal background checks. Or this November, we'll need a new legislature.
All right.